Once Human's new scenario, Survive, Capture, Preserve, has arrived in early access, which I'm going to abbreviate to SCP from now on. SCP is a scenario inspired by games with creature capture and battle mechanics such as Pal World. The entire scenario revolves around capturing deviations out in the wild, leveling them up, and battling against NPCs, raid bosses, and even other players via matchmaking. It's a bit of a departure from the regular game with different balancing, which means very little of your account progress can actually be carried over. Weapon and armor blueprints are replaced with specifically balanced gear in SCP, and as of this recording, only materials and consumables are able to be transferred in via Eternal Land. We haven't even been able to bring in our deviations. To start off, you will be placed in Blackfell. Here you will meet with Low and choose a starter deviation to help you out. From there, you'll need to build up a base and craft binding grenades. These can be used to capture deviations out in the wild. Each tier of binding grenade drastically increases catch chance based on the deviation's level, with each level of grenade increasing the catchable creature level by 10. However, there are a few other ways to increase your capture chance. The first is to pick up tracks on the ground around the deviation that you're after. The second is to weaken the deviation. The lower its HP, the higher the chance. Once you've caught a deviation, it can be equipped in the Symbiosis menu, and then you can assign it to your team of 3. Each deviation has a value based on its species rank as well as its skill and activity rating. Generally speaking, in the SCP scenario, the higher base level of a deviation when you capture it, the higher chance of better skill and activity ratings it can get. After progressing the main story a few times, you will be tasked with reaching a 90 deviation value and to defeat the Chaos Kitty arena boss. Doing so will increase your symbiosis level. This increases the level cap for your deviations and the total number that you can own. Arena bosses will also drop blueprints for scenario-specific versions of armor and weapons. You can get heat-resistant gear from the Chaos Kitty, pollution resist from the Chaosaurus, cold-resistant gear from the Chaos Snow Sprite, and then you can get legendary hybrid sets from the Chaos Mr. Wish. Additionally, they drop victory badges that can be spent in their personal shops to purchase these blueprints directly. These shops also have fusion items such as species codes and skill mutagens that we'll discuss later. Victory badges can also be earned through the PvP matchmaking system. This is the main gameplay loop. Capture better deviations to increase your symbiosis value, fight the arena boss for the current phase, farm the armor blueprints and craft it to be able to survive in the next areas, then repeat the process at the next higher level zone. These arena bosses are time-gated behind the scenario phases. However, the entire map is available in Phase 1, you just require armor and foods to resist the heat and cold for survival. Now, arena bosses can be somewhat difficult, so you'll have to level up your critters by pitting them against others. They only obtain experience from other deviations. Regular enemies like Deviants and Rosetta Soldiers, those don't count. You can also find and craft EXP aggregators, which is basically a candy you can feed them to instantly boost up their levels. Deviations generally follow the roles of tank, support, or damage dealer, and it's all about making a good team. Every species has a different potential skill set, stats, a passive ability, and an ultimate ability. Ultimate abilities passively charge up with Psi energy and can be unleashed to drastically affect the battle. There are many to choose from, so you'll have to mix and match to find your favorite combinations of deviations. Once you've decided, I recommend capturing multiples of the deviation you're interested in. In rare cases, they can come with 3 skills, and the skills they start with are based on the species, so keep trying until you get a set of moves that you like. Now, each settlement has a level difficulty. You can hover over the Rift Anchor or Wish statue icons on the map to see what level the area is. There will always be 3 different types of deviations to find roaming around, and a wishing statue. These wishing statues allow you to spend wish coins to summon one of those 3 deviations that are available in the area. And there is a small chance for them to be a higher level than usual. Wish coins are obtained by looting storage, weapon, and armor crates. A large portion of all the deviants can be found in settlements, and some even in multiple locations. They are the easiest to find though, as they don't have specific conditions to spawn. Also, after touching the wishing statue of each area, it reveals on the map what spawns there. However, specific deviations can also spawn out in the wild with varying conditions. Most of these will spawn in the same locations, so mark your map after you find them and then you can return whenever you want. The Lonewolf Whisper can sometimes be found in wolf packs. One of the wolves will have a corrupted lone wolf face. Killing it summons the deviation out into the open, and then you can fight and capture it. Digby Boys can be found disguised as an ore node. They are fairly noticeable as they still move around and, well, ores don't usually move. The Growshroom can be found buried with only the mushroom top showing. Then picking the mushrooms around it will make it spring out of the ground. Similarly, the Grumpy Bulb will also be buried, but it's a tiny little onion stalk, making it one of the most difficult deviations to spot and capture. Here's a spot that I found mine. In this scenario, By the Wind acts exactly like the Fool deviant in the other scenarios. They will spawn if you have low sanity while hanging out in a polluted area. Places with stardust ore are usually a good indicator for pollution. Buzzy Bees will spawn in packs with giant flowers and one giant Buzzy Bee. I usually find these in fields that are near roads. The Flame Essence can be found in the Red Sands desert areas, as well as the Chaosaurus Arena. Butterfly's Emissary, Logging Beaver, and Frog the Leaper all tend to be found in woodland or grassland areas, with the latter two also being near rivers. The Lethal Rabbit seems to spawn in many locations, but most of them are in woodland and grassland areas. They seem to spawn near other deviations, almost as though they are hunting them. The Hydronaut can be found at the beaches up in the frozen north areas. I found mine here, but I also hear that it can be at the Kame House. Polar Jellies can be found roaming the fields up in the northern areas, usually in packs. The Atomic Snail has a lot of spawns at the Snow Sprite Arena, but it can also be found zooming around in the desert. And lastly, for wild deviations, the Rain Man can usually be found roaming around roads. The last option for obtaining deviations is Fusion. Fusion has a ton of depth, and there's a portion to it that is both for SCP and a separate portion for the regular scenarios. So I will have a separate advanced guide for it. But here's the basics. You have 2 slots to add deviations. These will be the parents. The child will have a base 50% chance to be either species used, and can inherit the skills of the parents as long as it's compatible with the resulting species. You can also add up to 3 fusion materials. These can be animals, furniture, other deviations, skill mutagens, and species mutagens. All of these affect the inherited skills, can provide unique skills, or even change the species result. Skill mutagens are one of the best way to get specific skill setups and can be purchased with victory coins at Arena Masters or obtained as rewards from defeating gym leaders. Each deviation can only learn specific skills though. Species mutagens, however, will force the child to be converted into the specified species at a very high chance. This is the way to get most of the S rank rarities. You have to purchase a species code from an Arena Master, with each shop having its own S rank codes available. Then, in Scenario Phase 2, you will unlock the Memetic to craft species mutagens out of those codes. Add these into your fusions to get the S rank deviation. Just make sure when doing this that you're using skill mutagens or parents that have skills usable by that S rank. Otherwise, it will be a blank slate. Lastly, we have Chaos Deviations. They are obtained in 2 ways. The first is purchasing a mutagen from their corresponding arena boss. These have a server-wide limit though, and sell out really fast. The second option is the same as S ranks. You have to obtain a Chaos code and then craft it into a Chaos mutagen. Chaos codes are an extremely rare drop from defeating the Chaos Arena bosses. Based on all the conversations I've had around the server, as well as my own attempts to farm them, it seems to be somewhere around a 1% chance. Personally, I got my first one just after 100 runs. Now, to help you thrive in this scenario, here's some tips. You can transfer in tungsten ingots to be able to craft binding grenade level 5s in phase 1. It's expensive, but it can allow you to get high level deviations early. There's only 3 ways to heal deviations. Passively when not summoned, which is insanely slow, life potion grenades, which can get expensive, or having a healing deviation on your team. If you're just roaming around, I recommend Dr. Teddy, as his Panacea ultimates can be charged up and used out of combat to heal up with no risk. Even though the guns and armor are balanced in this scenario, don't neglect upgrading them. You can still dish out decent bullet damage in your matches to help sway victories. Territory deviations bring back additional scenario-specific items here, such as the Digby finding experience candies and the Beaver finding binding grenades, so make sure to utilize them. In the Symbiosis menu, you can set your ultimate skills to be auto-cast during gym battles. This can be helpful for some teams, but you may want to use certain ones manually. You can use the ping button on an enemy to instruct your team to attack that target specifically. This can be really useful to focus down priority targets like healers or heavy damage dealers. And lastly, shiny variants of deviations can be found in this scenario, and since they respawn fairly quick, this might be the best way to farm them now. So I hope this guide helped you become a securement master. If it did, make sure to share it with your friends. YouTube is going to recommend another video on the left, and my entire Once Human Guides playlist will be on the right.
So this is what defeat feels like!